Hello, everyone. Welcome to Game Junk Prototype Episode 44, recording on January 15th, 2020. My name is Frank.
2021. My name is Sean.
Oh, shit. It's 2021.
And my name is Andrew.
Holy, I'm on autopilot. What a disaster. That's got to stay in. Wake up call, Frankie. We will be doing our top 10 games of 2020. Maybe that's why it was on my mind.
Oh, yeah.
Our year in review show. It's going to be huge. Counting down the most important games of the year. It's going to be very interesting. I had a lot to choose from. I actually bumped some off, which is rare. Usually I'm struggling to get 10. I played a lot of games this year, and missed some too. How you guys ready to do this or what? You got your lists?
Got it.
Ready to go. I
no one has like 5 or 6 and needs a few seconds to fill it out. Or...
No. I agree with what you're saying. I played more games this year than last year for sure. I was trying to think, did we even do a top 10 last year or?
I think we did like way late in the year, like maybe when we recorded in March or April or something. I think we might have, but I am not 100% sure on that.
Well, so, yeah, I mean, it's, I guess, almost a year of doing the weekly show now, right?
Getting there.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember when we started exactly, but I don't know if that had something to do with it, playing more games.
It.
Plus, just being home all the time, obviously. I think games had a pretty big year overall, right?
For sure.
I think so.
All right. Well, do we want to say anything before we get into it? Like, is there any qualifiers or rules that anyone has for making their lists?
I tried to keep it pure. I'm just going to say that in terms of games that maybe came out on another platform first, and then I played it this year, on a different platform. I tried not to do that. I'm pretty sure there's none on my list like that. But I'll have a few honorable mentions as well.
I think by that definition, my list is also pure.
Okay, good to know.
Huck is not talking, which makes me think
I think mine's pure, I believe. I hope. I didn't double check some of them. Maybe I should do that right now just to make sure.
All right, let's get into it. Who's going to go first? I'm looking at Sean. I want Sean to go first.
Let's get into it. I'm ready to do that, Frank. I'll start off with my number 10, which I had a few things in and out of this spot. For some reason, for me, like the number 10 spot is always one of the hardest. But I ended up going with... No?
What's that kind of... Is it? Why is it so hard?
Well, because it's like you've got all these things that you're kind of like, I kind of want this on my list. Maybe they don't belong in there, but I still want them on the list, But anyway, I ended up going with The Room VR, A Dark Matter, which I really enjoyed. I don't even think I knew it was coming out this year, and it came out pretty early in COVID days, and I just remember playing through it, and it was a real memorable experience because, well, I feel like I kind of got back into VR a lot this year and had not played VR in a while. And this game helped with that, but it was an experience of transporting me somewhere else when I had been cooped up in the house for a while, and that helped. But obviously, it transported
you into an isolated room where you're by yourself.
Well, it's called The Room, but it takes place in other places other than rooms. But it's a puzzle game that just it doesn't do anything too crazy, but in terms of using VR in a way that I think really works. A lot of people are still trying to do action stuff with VR, and some of that works, but this is like a great use of VR in my opinion. Not enough people just doing sort of puzzle and adventure games right now, and I loved it. So that's my number 10.
I guess I'll go next. My number 10 is a game I just played recently on Game Pass, Call of the Sea, which I really enjoyed. I have not beaten it yet, but I'd say about halfway through. I think the graphics are incredible. The puzzles are nice. They're not too hard. And the environments all very cohesive, and the story they tell is intriguing, and it's a nice little adventure game that you don't really see many adventure games like this come out anymore. So it was kind of nice to see someone, taking a run at it and giving it a good go. And making it enjoyable.
Shit, I meant to play that last night and I forgot.
Yeah, interesting thing about that one. I mean, I only played a little bit of it, so it's not on my list. But I saw this listed on Metacritic. I think it was the highest rated Xbox original of the year. Like,
oh, yeah?
Exclusive of the year, sorry. So, kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm. I didn't realize it was an exclusive to Xbox, actually, either.
I think so. Maybe it's only PC and Xbox. I don't know.
Maybe.
My number 10 is probably higher on your lists. It is Ghost of Tsushima, which we did a whole review on. As we've said, it's a much different experience to me playing through the story versus platinuming or getting 100% in the game. I really almost decided to take it off the list. There's a couple honorable mentions that if I think I played more, I'll just say right now, Hades. If I played more Hades, it probably would be on this list. But I will say this about my list. If I ended up not playing it that much, especially in a year where I finished a lot of games, I kind of by default said, sorry, if I wasn't compelled to finish you, I can't put you on my list. So
yeah, I had similar takes as well.
So Ghost of Tsushima, great game. Certainly a lot of design issues in my opinion, but a rewarding experience overall.
I have a feeling this is going to be like a Control of 2019.
Oh no, situation number one.
Well, we will be talking about it again. Of course, we did our list.
That was the Control debacle.
Yeah.
Oh, that was last year. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so my number 9. Here we're getting like this is gonna start getting crazy here, guys, because this is a real controversial pick. I'm just gonna say it right up front. Cyberpunk 2077. I know
that's controversial.
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of issues with this game. A lot of people really, calling it unplayable almost. I gotta say, playing it on the PS5, I've seen a few glitches. I think maybe I've had one crash. I don't know. I'm really enjoying it. Like, early on, I was kind of trying to settle into, what kind of game it is. And there is a lot of talking and just dialogue. And yet I'm finding myself really drawn into the story. I know Frank was complaining about the lore, how there's so much lore and who's reading all this stuff. I mean, I'm certainly not reading all the pages of text, but I like
there are so many placed objects. What are they called again?
The shards?
It's on your top 10 list. Yeah, shards. The shards, like, I feel so bad for people who have to rate those things. I mean, I'm glad they have a job, but it's like, I have no interest. Every game, I'd say this happens with almost every single game I've played in my life that's an open world game. I'm like, this is the time I'm going to read every piece of material. I'm going to do it all. I'm going to listen to every audio clip. I'm going to immerse myself in this world. And then I guess you can kind of gauge the ratio of quantity to quality with that type of stuff, how far into the game I give up on it. And in Cyberpunk, I gave up on the shards after 2. I'm like, this ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
There is something to be said for brevity sometimes,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, whatever. That stuff is clearly all optional. I have not been reading it either. But, like I said, the story in the world I am loving. And, I'm struggling a bit with, is it top 10 worthy just because this is my... this is something I like, a genre I like. But, it's interesting because this has been a year where I've really gotten into open world games when before I just couldn't do it, whether I didn't have the time or what. And I don't know, this one has really drawn me in. So I got to give it some kind of props. I keep wanting to go back to it.
Now, I hate to challenge you, Sean, but I have to know.
Mm-hmm.
You say you keep going back to it. You're really drawn in. Where are you in the story, would you say? What act?
Probably like 3/4 through Act 2.
Okay. So you're being drawn in as me giving up on a game, pretty much. Because that's where I think I was when I'm like, yeah, I'm not feeling this game.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, like I haven't really looked at how long all the different acts are. I think Act 2 is a pretty long one, and then Act 3 is like you're close to the end.
Oh,
So
then I take my statement back. I thought there was more acts. I apologize.
no, I think there's only 3 acts,
Okay.
but I could be wrong.
No, you could be right.
Definitive answers from Game Junk.
Someone in the comments, let us know who's right, who's wrong.
My number 9 is Streets of Rage 4. A bunch of brawlers came out this year, and Streets of Rage 4 really left a good impression. I tried them all, or at least I tried all the big ones that you could think of. I tried River City Girls, Battletoads, and I think there was one other one that came out as well that I'm blanking on right now. But this one was my favorite by far. It hit all of the old sort of like Streets of Rage notes with especially the music, the gameplay, the environment looked great. This is like kind of like more hand-drawn-y kind of character art was great. And yeah, I just thought they really executed perfectly on the formula, and the game wasn't too long. Like a beat 'em up, you don't want to play it forever. This game was pretty short, maybe 2, maybe 3 hours. And I thought it was, a perfect length for beat 'em up. It's my number 9.
Nice.
My number 9 is Nioh 2. You might be saying, Frank, Nioh is your favorite game of all time. How is the sequel so low? Well, I'll tell you why it's so low. It's not that I'm not enjoying it. I've actually been playing it every night pretty much. I ended up staying up way later than I thought I would playing it last night. So I still enjoyed the general gameplay loop and combat of Nioh. As a sequel, I feel like it's more of the same in a good way, but again, added a lot of systems that I'm not 100% sold on. There's like a burst counter, which I talked about before, which I said was their version of Mercury counters, which are not that intuitive to me, certainly not as satisfying or clear as to how you do them. And there's like 3 different versions. Like they're adding so many systems that it's becoming overwhelming. I'm sure some people like that. For me, I think it's kind of bringing the game down. I actually prefer the living weapons in the first game more so than the yokai form in the second. So I still think it's a great game. I think I prefer the original, but it was my first love of Souls-like, so it's got a special place in my heart. But Nioh 2, number 9.
I tried this actually over the past week, and I don't remember Nioh 1 being so like dark and almost like as if it was in some sort of like more like Bloodborne. Like I thought it was more based in reality. Nioh 1, was it not?
No, it's
it was not
like
okay.
crazy fantasy creatures and bosses and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Maybe I probably just didn't get very far. But I found that it was very difficult, and I got overwhelmed kind of right away, which turned me off the game right away. So obviously it's not on my list, not going to be seeing it. But also just the amount of stuff I find they introduce to you rather quickly. And, within a few fights, they're already talking about stances and like other stuff you can do. And I was just like, whoa, like I haven't really digested any of this stuff you're trying to teach me here. And I imagine if I played more Nioh 1, it would have kind of gone over easier. But it was a struggle for me, and also these Souls games are just, I don't think they're for me really in general. So, but I'm glad it's on your list. We got to talk about it.
Okay. My number 8 is another game I've been playing fairly recently, Immortals Fenyx Rising, which I am really getting into and really enjoying as well. I mean, I'm curious if, at some point you guys play this, what you're going to think, because, it is very Breath of the Wild inspired, and I'm a little torn over that, but I think it has enough of its own identity that, obviously drawing from the Greek mythology and stuff, that it works and kind of is its own thing. But and on the other hand, I love Breath of the Wild, so this kind of it's an open world game where every corner you turn, there's some kind of environmental puzzle or shrine or treasure. They're not called shrines, but whatever they're called. That kind of you find yourself losing like an hour just trying to figure this thing out or whatever. And the combat, I've kind of gotten used to the control issues, and I'm just kind of getting into all the different upgrades and things right now, and I really like it. I feel like it's been a little bit overlooked. I can't, I think visually the world is beautiful. The characters look, as I said, a little generic. I still feel that way, and maybe that's part of the reason why maybe it hasn't grabbed people, but I think it's a pretty solid, fun, immersive game.
Okay, my number 8 is the game I was saying was very stressful last week, is Yes, Your Grace. I went back and I played it some more, and I really fell back into this game again. I really like it. The decision making. Now, it's a pretty straightforward game. It's kind of like Banner Saga without any of the turn-based strategy aspects of it. But the decision making you have to make is strategic in a sense, and it's really enjoyable. And I like how they're developing the story and like adding tension. There's sort of like this looming threat that is coming, and you have to try to like keep all these storylines in check as you're going through it. And it's pretty fun how they kind of bring you along in this story, and I'm enjoying it. And I haven't gotten to the point where my decisions start to really take effect yet, but I think it has a lot of potential to have a really strong finish, and so that's why I'm putting it on my list.
Should check this out at some point. My number 8 is a game that I ranted about last week. It is Animal Crossing's. Is it Animal Crossing?
Yes.
New Horizons. It's like a Watchdog situation. I'm like, where's the S? Where are the S's here? But I put a lot of time into this during my brief Nintendo phase in September, and really liked the charm and the world and catching bugs and catching fish. I love the semi-photorealistic images for the creatures in your collecting guide in the museum. I love the museum. Oh my god. Is it Blathers? Is that the museum?
Sounds familiar.
Owl?
Can't remember yet.
I can't remember.
Anyway, put a lot of time into it. Enjoyed it quite a bit. Online is complete garbage and needs to be called out more, but still a great game overall.
Okay. My number 7. So this is one that I don't think any of us have talked about to date. But There Is No Game, Wrong Dimension. You guys heard of this one at all?
No.
It's it's kind of another one of these meta puzzle games, I would say, kind of in the same category as like Pony Island and the Magic Circle, and I think there's another one kind of like that. But so you kind of start off, you're playing this game, and the menu loads up, and it's as if the game has kind of a glitch in it, and it's not letting you play the game. Like it's something's preventing you from playing the game, and it ends up that there's kind of like these puzzles you're trying to solve within the menu to try and like get around the glitch to actually get into the game and start playing the game. And then once you get in the game, there's different levels that are kind of based on certain genres of game. Like one is a sort of classic sort of Sierra LucasArts point and click adventure. Another one is a Zelda-esque fantasy RPG, I guess. And so the whole time you're kind of fighting with this system that's in the game that's trying to stop you from being able to play the game. And it's hard to describe. And it's like, I think ultimately it ends up being kind of like just a point and click puzzle game in some ways. There is some skill based stuff in it, but it's just a lot of like you're you're looking at the game and the things in the game are being pulled out so you can interact in the real world with them, sort of. Very strange, but definitely a mind fuck. And I think if you read a little bit about it, you'll see why it's probably on my list.
Yep, checking it out. I really should go back to Pony Island and some of these other games.
Yeah, this looks pretty interesting, this game. My number 7, which I talked about a little bit already, is Ikenfell, which is a 2D RPG that has sort of like a turn-based strategy game for the battles. Sort of like not Stick of Truth, the South Park second game, Fractured Butthole. And it is really fun. I've been playing it a lot more. The story is kind of a wacky take on kind of like a Harry Potter type environment where you're the sister of a girl who's at a mage school, and you kind of go through trying to find her, and you meet her friends, and they all have unique abilities, and you fight a lot of really neat creatures, and the story is actually pretty good. The combat's fun. The leveling up is good. How they're doling out the equipment is nice. And yeah, I'm just really enjoying it. It's a really light RPG, which is something you don't see as much anymore. And I'm really, really enjoying it, and going to keep playing it for sure.
Cool.
Nice.
Is that on Game Pass as well?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Seems
Basically,
like
probably all my games are.
Yeah, really. Well, that's good for people listening. They can check them out probably.
Yeah.
My number 7 game of the year is Bugsnax, which Sean is loving. A lot of people's kids are loving. This game is big with the children.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I love the art style. I love the look of the different Bugsnax. I thought it was a very fun, easy platinum. I was compelled to get catch all the Bugsnax, and the story was kind of interesting. I mean, I'm not big on video game stories anyway, but there was enough there. It was the pacing of the story I thought was pretty good, and overall I thought it was a really unique, fun, interesting game. And to boot, it was free with PlayStation Plus when I got my PS5, so that was nice.
Gotta love it. Okay, my number 6 is Hades, which this game was like up and down my list, all over the place. It was kind of always on my list, but I could not decide where to put it. And the problem is, I started playing it when it first came out, and I played it like quite a bit, like for the first week or two, and I was really into it. And I was like, okay, I'm finally getting, as Frank has been saying, I'm getting this roguelike thing. Like, I understand why people love these games. And then I didn't play it for a long time. And then I just kind of went back to it again this week, and I'm into it again. And I'm like, what I hadn't really done before is I was just kind of enjoying just playing the game over and over again. And I wasn't really trying to do any specific upgrades or anything. I was just trying everything out. And now I was like into the systems where I was like, okay, I'm trying to get this next, trying to get that next, get this much darkness, get these keys, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm really enjoying that. But I mean, I'm still not that far in the game. I've made it to the second boss a bunch of times, haven't made it past that second boss. So I'm still kind of torn. I'm still like, I don't know, is this game going to stick with me enough that I'm going to want to keep going? I'm not sure, but it definitely cracked a certain code, and I love the look of it. And, the dialogue, the characters, all that stuff is very compelling. So I really like Hades.
I think the reason why I ultimately leaned for not putting it on my list is I find the bosses too hard. Like, I've made it to the first boss, like, after really good runs. I have full health. I have, power-ups I really like, and I still get owned by this boss. And it just takes forever. And it's like a really big drain. Now, some people would argue that's what a boss is supposed to be. I don't know. I feel like they're too hard, where it kind of doesn't make me want to do another run. I'm like, I'm just going to get owned by this boss again. I don't feel like I'm getting any better at the boss. and they just have too much health. Would be my complaint with the bosses in Hades.
Have you tried all the different weapons?
Not really. I think I've tried 3 of them and stuff like that.
Because I find some of them, they just don't click for me at all. Like by far, I use the bow the most, and I've had the most success with that. Some of the other ones, I struggle.
Yeah,
I've also had the most success with
I wish there was a little more progression. I actually find it kind of easy to get to the boss, and then, I die at the boss, and it's like, that's a lot of time to get to the boss and die. Like, I wish the first area was almost shorter, or there was some other way to make me get better at the game before I get to that boss, and that's where I struggle. I don't know. It's a great game, but maybe I just am sucking at it right now and it hasn't clicked yet.
I found that the first area is the longest, and they get successively shorter as you go through. So you kind of like hit the bosses sooner. At least that's what it seemed to me. And I played that game a bunch this week as well. I'm not going to tell you where it is on my list yet. My number 6 is Ori and the Will of the Wisps. So I fired this back up again this week just to make sure where it was going to be. And the game looks incredible. I was running it on my PC. It was running silky smooth. The gameplay was good. Animation, so smooth. And I think I remember having some problems with some of the chases and stuff. So I didn't really want to put it too much higher. But from when I restarted, I was really enjoying it again. So that says something for the game, that I did want to keep playing it again after restarting. But yeah, similar to the original Ori, I think this one does it pretty much just as well.
Yeah, for me, I know Sean has some thoughts, some recent thoughts. I'm not sure if it's on his list. Did not make my list, even though I love the original. And it is clearly a case for me, similar to Nioh 2, but much worse in my opinion, where less is more. All the new systems overcomplicate things. Like, it was way better the first time with less to do, less options. It was much more defined. The switching and mapping different weapons to buttons is not fun in my opinion, or that beneficial. And the new abilities, at least when I played it the day it came out, and I played it for 10 hours straight so we could talk about it the next day. And the dash mechanics are confusing. Now, Sean, you're struggling with this right now, I think, but like dashing through rocks and into rock and the distance where it works and when it doesn't is extremely frustrating and not obvious to me what I'm doing wrong, why sometimes I dash perfectly, sometimes I don't. All the new mechanics kind of suck, and they might have gotten better with some updates, but when I played it day one, the new mechanics were not strong. And it was still a great game, and I hate the choice element, where it lets you go to different areas first, rather than being kind of a true Metroid-like, where there is kind of a path you have to follow. It kind of had 4 areas and it let you choose where to go next. And it was like it was like kind of a hub and spoke kind of setup instead. And I went to the final area first, not knowing that I would get to the end and I can't go any further. Like, that's terrible game design. I hate that. Anyway, it's still a very good game, but the first one is so much better, in my opinion.
I would agree with that. Yeah, that's why I think Ori was quite high on all of our lists the year it came out. So obviously this being in the middle of the pack for me is saying something. That's it.
Sean, you want to talk about that chase? Did you beat it yet?
Well, I guess I can reveal it's not on my list. It was on my list at one point, kind of got knocked off, and that's why I started it up again, because I was stuck on that last, I think it's near the end, the worm chase with the burrowing mechanic.
For me, it was at the beginning. It was the second.
Okay. And yeah, I'm still stuck. Like, I didn't try that much. I put maybe like another half hour into it, but I was just, give me a checkpoint or something, And like, I think the last Ori game, you could drop down to an easier difficulty level and it would give you more checkpoints. But this one, once you choose that difficulty level, you're locked in. So
I think that might have come in the definitive edition. I don't think it was in the.
oh, okay, maybe.
So I did play on easy my first time. Maybe that's coloring my opinion on this game a bit, but
Yeah.
don't know.
I mean, I was fine. Like, there was definitely some hard stuff, but I was like, I got through it. And just this one with that burrow, like Frank said, it's you're being chased, and half the time the angle doesn't work, and you just fall and die. It's real annoying.
And it's the same mechanic with the water dash. With the water dash. When you dash out of that, it's like also sometimes I get really like the apex height, perfect height, and then other times I'm halfway, and I feel like I'm doing the same thing every time. So either way, you're not teaching me how to do it right. That's on you, game.
You're reminding me of all these things I didn't like about this game now.
Okay, Frank, I think it's you, right?
Yep.
Is it?
Yeah, you're at 6.
6? My number 6 is Spiritfarer by Thunder Lotus, which is also on Game Pass. And I mean, I got frustrated with some trophy stuff when I was finishing up the game, that I had to go back and do a bunch of the game. And that's not really fair to the game. That was like a trophy hunter rant. But overall, I absolutely love the Thunder Lotus aesthetic, and I think this is like it's a construction management game with story, and I mean such a unique art style, like a traditionally animated art style. I know people are like creaming over the story and what it's about, and I have to say that did not resonate with me at all, being about death and loss and stuff like that. Didn't really care. I just thought it was an extremely fun, great looking game, and a different take on that genre, where it's like very often a perspective or isometric angle or orthographic to any one of those three. I've played construction management games in that style. This was like, well, it's orthographic, but it's like 2D. And you have the ship, and I thought the system for building and changing your ship was awesome, like extremely cool looking. And the idea of adding platforming to that type of game, like your resource gathering are different platforming challenges. I thought that was a very cool idea. And overall, I really love this game. I've been debating going back and playing it again on Game Pass, and yeah, I love Spiritfarer.
So I totally forgot this game came out this year, and I didn't see it on really any other top 10s that I was looking at. It kind of fell under the radar for a lot of people. I did enjoy it. Now, I found the story, now I don't read the best, but I found it quite abstract, so I don't even know. I'm with you, Frank, on the story aspects. I wasn't really hooked by it as well. It was a little too abstract for me.
Well, by the end, I mean, I don't think you beat it, right?
No, I did not. No.
Like, I was expecting like this big kind of revelation, and again, it's subtle. It's an indie game, which people, I think, overrate in some ways. But yeah, it did not like hit me hard. Like, I was expecting to drop tier at this game based on the reviews I read. Let's put it this way. Huck is dropping more tier right now with his allergies than I even think close in this game.
Yeah, I also found that the mechanics just got a little stale for me overall. And, you know, there's only so many times I can chop wood and roll yarn before and plant seeds and water seeds and then pick seeds when I'm okay. Like, yeah, I did like some of the aspects where you explore different villages and there are like hidden aspects to it, little mini puzzles within them that I did like. But overall, yeah, I can't see myself going back to it. That's why it's not on my list, because I didn't even remember about it. But it was a neat game. I also am with you, Frank. The aesthetic is really nice. It definitely is visually really a nice looking game. So
I need to go back to Sundered. I never finished Sundered, another Thunder Lotus game.
Yeah, I never played Spiritfarer. I should have at least tried to give it a whirl, but I never got
Mr.
around
Game
to it.
Pass over here. Get on it, bud.
Yeah, there's a lot of games on there, let me tell you. Okay, me, right?
Yep.
I think. Okay, my number 5 is another Game Pass game,
Big
Carrion,
surprise. Oh yeah.
which I think is the only, yeah, it's the only Metroidvania game on my list, which is kind of a surprise. But
I'd say this is almost non-Metroid like.
yeah, I mean, it's not. It definitely it has elements, but it's also different in some ways. And
Those
but
differences are why it didn't make my list, for the record.
Okay,
Like the confusing map structure that we talked about. And
yeah, and I definitely had some issues with that. But I love the concept. You know, yeah, if you haven't played it, just the idea of being a giant tentacled monster and going through different research facilities and killing people. That's basically it. But you know, the actual maneuvering and the way you move in the game feels great. And I liked all the little powers they added along the way. Some of the things that I don't think were explained that well, but kind of got the hang of them eventually, and I still really liked it.
My number 5 is Hades, and I didn't play that until this past week. But once I got into it, I put in like a 4 or 5 hour session one night, and I beat the third boss, and it was pretty close, I believe, to the fourth boss, which I believe is the last boss. I think there's only 4 areas in the game, though I hear you have to play it through like 10 times or so to get the full experience of the game. But I think Frank, your problem with the boss is similar to the problem I was having with ScourgeBringer, where I wasn't evading enough. And I found with these bosses, you really have to keep your distance and avoid a lot, and then really pick your shots. And I was finding that strategy really was paying off in all the boss fights. The third boss fight, I squeaked through with literally 1 health left. So I didn't make it very far in the fourth world because of that. But it was still really well done. I really like how there is subtle little things you can do. Like you can find, I can't remember what they're called, but they're like little, almost like treat drinks that the gods like. And you can
Nectars?
choose who, what are they called?
Nectars, I think.
Nectars, yeah. And you could choose who to give them to, and then you get rewards based on who you give them to. So you have to be kind of strategic with who you think is going to give you good rewards. I like the idea of going in and getting the keys to unlock weapons, and then I like how when you come back, the castle or whatever you want to call it, Hades area, is a little different every time as far as the placement of the NPCs and who you can talk to and what they have to say. And it's really interesting how they are able to sort of drive this story through each playthrough, each iteration, each run. And I don't think any other game's really done it. Now I started playing Children of Morta last night, and so I only did like 1 or 2 runs of that game, but it seems to have a similar driving style where each time you come back, they drop a little more bit of information about the story. It's obviously a game that both games are obviously you cannot beat in like one run. So they expect you to die often and come back and see these little story bits. But it is really neat how they are divvying out the story in a roguelike genre, which usually like this is kind of a nice evolution of the roguelike genre, where before it was basically like, yeah, just experience our randomly generated area and master the mechanics and then eventually beat the game. Whereas now they're taking that and then adding this like story that evolves as you play. And I really am enjoying it. It might even be higher if I had played it more, but it definitely I definitely wanted to keep going. One more run heavily influenced me, and I was really liking it.
Okay, did I say it on the show last week that it's tough to tell? I know Hades is getting credit for the story stuff, and the voice acting is one of the reasons, I would say, because the presentation in that game is amazing. But, I mean, Children of Morta, I don't know which one did it first. Like, I know Hades was early access. They were both early access games. So, like, it's getting kind of weird to actually, is it the first person that releases that's getting the credit for this stuff? Or on consoles, maybe? Like, I don't know which game, which roguelite pioneered the story element so much? Which of those two? I think it's got to be one of the two, but it could be another one. I don't even know.
Yeah, so I'm looking at it. Children of Morta came out September 3rd, 2019. I don't know when Hades went into early access, though, but I feel like it wasn't...
I think Children of Morta was early access as well.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not 100% sure, though.
Yeah, and I wonder if there is other games that... Okay, so there is an early access stuff I'm seeing as early as December 10th, 2019 for... Oh, no, here's one for... Oh, Hades coming to Steam early access trailer. So it sounds like in December of 2019, Hades went into early access. So it sounds like that Children of Morta released before Hades went into early access.
Children of Morta getting snubbed for its revolutionary storytelling.
Yeah, I had never really heard of this game. I think I recognized the key art or whatever, but I had never heard much about it. It's very interesting.
Yes.
And I don't know, do you think there's any other games earlier than this that did the
There
story?
could be.
I can't think of any.
I mean, they might, like with these roguelites, some don't even get press. Like, like when I was doing research into them, there was a ton that I'm liking. And now that I know that a game like ScourgeBringer barely got talked about, and to me it was my favorite one. Like I'm really intrigued I'm thinking how many indie games are there that I'm not even hearing about because of press stuff and who knows what.
Yeah, there's a lot out there, that's for sure.
All right, my number 5 is Spider-Man Miles Morales, which to me improved upon everything in the first game. Like, it's more focused, more fun. They made huge changes, like not huge, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but changes to the combat, like adding that kind of venom punch and all these other elements where it wasn't just redoing the same game again. I had to think about combat differently, and I didn't even notice how much that was until I went back to play the original one to get the last trophy on PlayStation 5, and I'm like, this is actually pretty different in terms of the combat and how I approach situations. So I think that's a really cool thing. I know it's a smaller game, but I like that overall. I thought it was overall a more fun experience than the original. And honestly, the fact that it's number 5 on my list probably speaks to the quality of the top 4. Like, I think on most years, even last year, this probably would have been my number 1 game of the year had it come out last year. And I played through it twice, back to back, and really enjoyed it.
Well, that's also my number 4. And I also really enjoyed it. I thought the combat was definitely an improvement. They added a lot of cool new mechanics. The stealth thing I never really used much in the first one, but now with the invisibility stuff in the new one, I found that kind of changed my gameplay style quite a bit. I thought the story was pretty solid. It is short, and I do feel like that's not so much like a detractor in terms of value, quote unquote. But I do feel like I played it, almost all of it in a week. I think I just went back and finished it like a couple weeks ago. But like, I just kind of forgot about it. Like, I played it, I was like, that was fun. And then I almost forgot about it. Like, it just, I don't know, it was so kind of just light and didn't leave as much of an impact as maybe I thought it would. But it's still a really solid, really fun game. It looks amazing.
The combat camera is incredible. Like, there's never even glitches or like weird stuff with the camera. It is perfect.
Yeah, it's so polished.
I wish I played this game a little more. This is one of those games where it fell off basically because I didn't play it enough. I just got to the point where I believe I just got the invisibility power. So I don't think I really experienced the full game. And I definitely didn't get comfortable with the controls because I was still kind of feeling a little awkward about using the venom powers and stuff whenever they would come up. But I definitely would like to go back and play this game more. My number 4, which I don't think is going to be on any of your lists, Half-Life Alyx, which I have actually not played that much of, but it is so impressive what I have played and how well it runs. on the Oculus Quest 2, streaming through the air, no cords.
But that,
The anime.
okay, so full disclosure, I bought an Oculus Quest 2 yesterday and was looking into trying to get Half-Life
You
Alyx,
just needed a little push, just a
Half-Life
tiny
Alyx
push.
running on my computer, which did not happen. I had to get a refund.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty old. I thought there might be a chance, but it didn't work. But I just want to, when you said ran wirelessly, are you using that virtual desktop app to do that on the Quest? Or is it like a developer feature? Because I couldn't find...
Yes, I'm using that virtual desktop thing, I believe.
Which I think costs $20.
It's like $20 or $25, yeah.
I want to make sure, like that, everything I saw online was using that
Yeah.
technology.
It's incredible. Like being able to just stream from Steam. There's like you have to connect to your computer for like the initial setup, and then after that you can,
Okay, cool.
you can basically
So,
connect wirelessly.
I mean, I've been looking into PC parts and PC build videos all day, so I'm debating whether to buy an assembled one or build one.
I would say just buy a pre-built. Like honestly, they're so good now. It's not, unless you really want to like push it and have like a custom liquid cooled something going on.
Maybe I need these.
But then you risk like, are you going to do like the whole like you're going to put on the thermal paste and all that stuff and risk not applying it properly? Okay. All right.
Not hard.
Attaboy. But yeah, the game is incredible.
You're going to trust people management to someone else? I've seen how people do things.
I'm not talking about the cable management. I'm talking about the thermal paste on the CPU, that stuff. Don't want to burn it out from running all that. I guess if you get a custom liquid cooler, you're good, probably regardless. So, but this game, incredible. The animations and the facial and just the character fidelity is way, way higher than I thought they'd be able to achieve in VR at this stage. It's really an incredible feat, and everyone should try it at one point in time because it is really quite an experience. And I believe I said on the show, I went back and played the Batman VR, which when I played at your house, Frank, I had issues with as far as the post-traumatic stress, and
non-Rye related, nothing to
but this time when I played it on the Quest 2, which I expected it to run better, I still had a little issues. There was still some dizziness from it being a little framey, and Half-Life Alyx was silky smooth the whole way. So I'm not sure if it was like a solid 90 or they were actually getting it up to 120 frames, but it was running incredibly well, and it was wireless. So I was so impressed that I had to put it up here. I had to put it this high. I will be playing it more. I just have not gone over to play my Quest in a while, and I need to get back to it. But I've been trying to plow through all these Game Pass games that keep coming out, and I just keep forgetting about the Quest, but I really need to go back to it.
It's really cool technology. Like the wireless aspect of it, like setting your boundary area.
Yeah.
And all, like, I mean.
And you tap the side to get the see-through or the pass-through?
I didn't even do that. I just kind of set it to pass. Pass-through is amazing. I could live in a pass-through world.
Well, when I did the show with it on, I was using the virtual desktop thing, and it was smooth. No problem. And also, just like, have you watched a movie in it yet?
No, I downloaded the apps, but I haven't done it yet.
It's pretty cool to like sit in a theater and like you have the big giant screen. I mean, the only thing you're really missing is, I guess, full like really awesome audio.
But the audio built in is really good.
It is really good. It is really good. Yeah. So I think I watched like the original Star Wars or Empire Strikes Back. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I sampled like 15 minutes or whatever, and I was thoroughly impressed. It felt like I should be seeing people in the theater. It was really cool.
Yeah, the technology is kind of amazing for the price.
Yeah.
I was a little underwhelmed by how many games are actually on the storefront. Like, I thought there was a lot more out for it. It's like there weren't a lot of apps where I'm like, oh, I got to buy this. And
yeah, a lot of them are premium though. They're all premium titles. They don't have that issue where you can get a bunch of like $2.99 games yet or anything like that. Every game is quite expensive, so I think they are going for that like premium market, and they probably are only letting solid games that can run at a solid 90 or a solid 120 on there. So that probably limits the
Has
amount
anyone
of games.
played the Walking Dead VR game? That's
No.
supposed to be really good.
No, I keep seeing it on sale, and I'm always tempted, but haven't got it yet.
Okay. The wireless thing is a big deal, though. Like, it's really, really cool.
Oh yeah.
To just like not even think about it, put it on, go to any room. Okay, good.
Yeah. Oh, it's incredible. And it detects like when you're not quite like I could be in the same room but in a sitting position, and it's like, are you sure you're in the same spot you want to be? Like, do you want to redo your boundary? Do you want to set up for stationary? Like, it's really incredible how it can detect all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
John Carmack.
I was about to say, I was literally going to say, you seem to be loving this a lot more since John Carmack's involved.
Of course.
Your VR sickness went away as soon as
Sure did.
Johnny C.
Okay, my number, is it my turn?
Yeah, 4.
Yeah.
My number 4 is The Last of Us Part 2.
Ooh, surprising.
Which, I mean, if this game was 66% of its length, it probably would be my game of the year. I just found it got a little repetitive, and the ending was not very good, and a huge missed opportunity, in my opinion. And they kind of wimped out when it came to committing to stuff by the end of the game. But 100% the best looking game I've ever played in my life. A technical and art marvel, and overall an amazing game. Just, I think The Last of Us Part 1 is a better game that doesn't look as good. I would actually like to see them take this tech and redo The Last of Us. I bet it might not be that hard if they have the animation data and stuff like that. We talk about HD remakes. I would love to see like them every 5 years update Last of Us with the latest tech.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be pretty neat.
Okay. My number 3 is Astro's Playroom.
Oh, high up
PS5. And, it's kind of like it has a bit of an advantage, I guess, because of the dual sense, the way it uses all the haptic stuff. Like, there are other games that are using it, but this one really feels tailor-made to showcase that. And because
that doesn't seem unfair to me. That makes why it's so good. It actually uses.
I guess so, yeah. Like, but that is, that's the selling point, and it kind of was one of the games that I played this year that felt like something new and different, and I could see the potential in it. And I mean, we've talked about the dual sense stuff and how, who knows if it's going to be fully adopted by a lot of other games. I think Immortals Fenyx Rising uses it a bit. So some third-party stuff is making use of it, but this one just goes all the way. And yeah, it's a short game, but I really like the other Astrobot game for VR, and this one is just the same. Like, I love the platforming. I love, like, every 5 minutes you're doing something new.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I
wish this game was 20 hours. Like, I would have played it until it was done, no matter how long it was.
Yeah.
Have to get me a PS5.
Definitely.
My number 3 is Ghost of Tsushima. And I didn't have the platinum problem Frank did. I thought the mechanics in this game were really tight. I loved the sort of lack of HUD for finding your way around, how the wind taught you everything, how if you paid attention to the environment, birds and noises and stuff would tip you off when you were near things. I thought that was extremely clever and kept you extremely immersed in the world. You weren't looking at a mini map. You were looking at the environments that they had crafted. All the environments, all the terrains, incredible. The loading is remarkable that they'd done it. Like, it almost deserves to be number 1 just because of how fast it goes. And this is before PS5. I don't know how they did that. It literally is a marvel that they were able to do that. And yeah, I thought the combat was fine. I don't recall it being amazing, but it definitely was enjoyable. I liked the standoffs, the duels, though challenging, were still kind of a neat side thing to do. The bosses I remember being pretty difficult, but still enjoyable. And yeah, I did go back and try to play a few more of the side missions, and it was tricky to get back into the control scheme. But overall, I really enjoyed this game for what it was, and I don't know if I will go back to it to finish those off and try to get a platinum, because there is a lot of stuff to still do. But I enjoyed it for what it was, and I think the way I played it is a really enjoyable way to tackle this game.
I'd say it's pretty, even though you won the game in a draw, right? Like,
I did, but I played it before that.
I know, but I think it's fair to say you will not return to get those trophies.
Yeah, probably not.
My number 3, not surprisingly, is ScourgeBringer.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I thought it was going to be number 1.
I gave it some thought. I played the absolute shit out of this game, and it's the best roguelite I've played in probably since Rogue Legacy. And I just think the combat is incredible. It's actually really similar to Hades, but it's got this like free-flowing, like fast-paced nature where I'm like just in a zen mode when I'm doing it. I'm just like trying to literally do a run in an area where I do not get touched. Like the goal is to not take damage at all. And like the smashing abilities and the dragon punch and all these things you can do that you unlock to be able to do that, they're just so much fun. I can't believe this game is not being talked about at all. It is so good. And especially when the combat to me is so similar to Hades, and to me, superior to Hades. The actual world building, voice acting, all that stuff in Hades is top notch. Like it's a much more polished experience. But the combat, the game, ScourgeBringer is better. Now there are.
I'll push back on that. I think one thing I forgot to mention about Hades is that each run when you go in, you similar to ScourgeBringer, you have the ability to find little upgrades. And what I like about in Hades is that you get to sort of choose which ability to augment. So either your main attack, your special attack, or your sort of like
I like
alt
that.
attack, I guess. And in ScourgeBringer, I find the gun still useless. I cannot wrap my brain around using the gun and using the regular attack. I find that it's almost the same. You're right, as far as like the 3 attack styles, basically like light, heavy, and then special. But I find with ScourgeBringer, like the gun is just, I can't figure it out. I cannot get it. Whereas with Hades, I've been able to figure that out pretty quickly. And there is definitely that same sort of economy of using the gun or the special attack in Hades. You can only use it sort of like a limited amount of time, essentially, before you have to kind of refill it. And I like the upgrade path of Hades because I find it gives you more specialized upgrades that I feel the impact of more immediately. Whereas in ScourgeBringer, yeah, I can get like 5% up when I attack stunned enemies, but I don't really feel it that much. But I've only gone to the second area. I haven't gone as far as you. I don't have like...
I would agree overall that I feel the upgrades and boons or blessing, whatever you want to call them in Hades, I feel them more. But yeah, to me, I just find the core combat better in ScourgeBringer, where I would agree probably the upgrade paths are more interesting and rewarding in Hades. Mm. So it is kind of a personal preference, I would say, in terms of combat.
I really enjoyed the combat, though. I struggled to put it on my list. I mean, I didn't struggle. I was debating putting it on my list. I was struggling where it should go and kind of eventually fell on it not being on my list. But it is definitely a game people should look at if they like the roguelike genre, because it is really, the combat is really slick and it's really well done.
Now, getting into end game stuff, like the hidden walls are really annoying. Like when you put 30 or 40 hours into this game, you start to reveal flaws, kind of the same way Ghost of Tsushima did, but they're very small things that I'm hoping will get fixed.
I'm glad you streamed this game when we were playing, because I had noticed those walls with the little like twinkling, but I never knew what they were. I never knew how to unlock them or anything. So then when I started playing through now, I would be like, oh, okay, now I know how to get through this. And
problem is, after the first area, the twinkle goes away. So it's like, why?
Oh, does it?
Yeah, it's
okay.
That is my biggest problem with the whole game. The hidden walls are kind of brutal, and I was trying to get an achievement, and I was doing it for hours, and I almost had it, and I friggin' died, and I wanted to shoot someone.
So you have to basically play it like you used to play like Wolfenstein 3D, where you just mash spacebar on like every wall.
You can't, because you need the gun to unlock the walls, and you
and you have limited gun.
It's brutal. It's actually really bad. It's the only bad thing about the game. Anyway.
Okay, we're at our top 2 here, guys. So my number 2.
I know Huck's top 2. I don't know Sean's. Well, Bugsnax probably is number 2.
The Last of Us Part 2 is number 2.
Bugsnax, number 1.
Last of Us Part 2 is also my number 2.
Yeah, I mean, this game, like, we talked about it a lot, and I feel like I still struggle with some of the game elements of the game. Like, I find, there was frustrating sections of it for me, and I mean, as we talked about before, The Last of Us 1, I just finished it this year because I got too frustrated with it when I played it initially, way back when. But the more I played it, the more I got better, the more I learned all the different mechanics and the ins and outs. And I gotta say, like, the story itself, like, I know, Frank, you talk about you don't care about video game stories, but this one I really felt like they hit a new level. And I do kind of struggle a little bit with, like, yeah, okay, but it's just like killing people and killing zombies and it's just a revenge story. But like, I actually really felt for these characters. And there's so many quiet moments that they juxtapose with the action, and it's just amazing. Like, I think they really pulled something special off with this, and I will certainly remember the playthrough of this game for years to come.
And you didn't even get to the best moment. You missed it, the optional
yeah, right.
moment at the first open area.
Yep.
I must say that I'm kind of with Frank in that if they had cut that last area out of this game and shortened it by, 2-3 hours maybe?
Sorry, I just want to clarify. I would not have just cut the last area. I would have cut, like, across the board. Each section, just trimmed it down. And the last couple areas, I agree, are kind of overstaying their welcome more than other ones. But I think that's also just because the game is overstaying its welcome more at that point.
Yeah, I wonder if you just erase that last area, wherever it was, San Diego or whatever it was.
Santa Barbara, I think.
Santa Barbara. I wonder if the game would feel more complete and you'd have a better kind of overall feel of it if you didn't have to play that last area.
I think the story might be better. Like,
yes.
We talked about that on the review, right?
Mm-hmm. But I really enjoy the combat. I enjoy the crafting. I mean, the tech is, like we mentioned already, just incredible. Like, the stuff they do, the lighting, incredible. The facial animation, incredible. You could go on and on. Gameplay, animation, all that stuff. The little touches. I mean, there's probably stuff in this game we haven't even noticed that they do. And that is why it's so high on my list, despite some of its flaws. I think just the overall package is so strong, and there's so many things that are so far ahead any other game that it had to be up here.
All right, my number 2 is Astro's Playroom. So
I'm a little disappointed, Frank. A little disappointed. You said it was going to be your game of the year.
I did.
And there's another game he said was going to be his game of the year, so
That's true.
there can only be one.
It was a serious debate. I think I bumped Astro's Playroom down maybe just because of its length. Like, it almost seemed easier. Like, it didn't have to maintain constant variety. Like, it was easy to make everything unique because it was so small. But that doesn't take away from how fun those things were. And, I mean, the boss, the tech demo from the PlayStation 1, the T-Rex or whatever it is, like, that was so cool. I honestly cannot express how much I love finding 3D models of things that exist in the real world, like video game accessories, and rotating them.
That's a YouTube special right there.
I could not. I could do that all day. I wish every game console or company had a game where you unlocked 3D models of their stuff, because I absolutely love that. And yeah, I love the game. And the DualSense, I was losing my mind over after playing this, because this game makes it amazing. And that kind of highlights how good the game is, because since then I kind of like the Series X controller more. Just, I think games are not using the DualSense in great ways, and it actually becomes a hindrance playing games sometimes. So I loved Astro's Playroom.
I'm really interested in who Sean's going to be number one. I know what Frank's is.
Bugsnax. I told you.
No, it's not that.
It's not
interesting.
Bugsnax?
I mean, it's probably kind of obvious. You just forgot about it. My number one is Ghost of Tsushima,
Oh, right.
which I loved. I mean, obviously, I did not do every single side quest. I did not platinum this game. And I probably, I'm assuming, took longer to play through it than both of you did. But I was really impressed with, like, you know, I thought they pulled in some elements of things like Breath of the Wild. I thought there was exploration in this game. You know, I thought there was a lot of variety of things to do. I didn't find that all the quests were just go here, do this, follow this person. And I actually thought the story was really solid and beautiful to look at. I think one of the best looking games of all time. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Like, I got into a lot of different aspects of the game, trying to get, I did some of the side quests. So, you know, I tried to, any of the ones that unlock new skills or like cool armor and stuff. I did a lot of those. But I just didn't do a lot of the character side quests for the main characters, or the supporting characters, I guess. Mm-hmm. So, but I have heard some of those are good too. So I am a little curious, and I haven't tried the online multiplayer yet either, and I'm curious about that. So I really liked Ghost of Tsushima. I have to admit, I was back and forth between this and Last of Us, because to me, Last of Us was the more memorable experience, but Ghost of Tsushima I had the most fun with as a game, and ultimately that's my number one.
My number one and Frank's number one. Go ahead, Frank. We all know.
It's the Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oh, glorious, this game. And I think I liked it more. I mean, I played it. I didn't finish hard mode yet. But I have played this game a ton, and I think I actually enjoyed it more after watching all the extra videos about all the like conspiracy theories about what they think the ending means and where it can go. And I just thought the fact that they put that much time into remaking, like literally remaking this game, was really compelling. And after replaying the original Final Fantasy VII earlier this year when it came to Game Pass, I enjoyed it probably even more this time around, because I now had that kind of like other experience with it. And I thought the way they changed up the combat, I was really scared about, and they pulled it off incredibly well. The hard mode, where you can't use stuff in battle, you can't use items in battle, I thought that was going to ruin the game in a hard mode, and actually it increased the challenge in almost just the right amount of way, where it was extremely challenging and you had to be very careful, but it wasn't so punishing that you got like you wanted to shut it off. And yeah, just the battle mechanics alone, not to mention the story and the graphics. I mean, the game looks incredible. I would say it rivals, maybe not Last of Us Part 2 in terms of its lighting and stuff, but it does in terms of character models. And the voice acting, the voice actors they chose, really, really, I thought encapsulated the characters great, and actually made me like some of the characters more. And they really fleshed out some of the side characters like Jesse and Wedge and Biggs, which had more of a minor role in the original. Would you say Jesse?
Oh, yeah.
She's the best.
She is.
And yeah, just all the stuff they added to the game and how they fleshed out Midgar. Basically, it was a 4 to 5 hour experience in the original, and now it's this 40-hour monster of
Well,
a
let me
game.
piggyback on that because this game is the ultimate flesh out. And the idea is like to take a beloved game and then say, we're going to get even deeper with the story and we're going to break it up into 4 sections. Seems like a disaster to me. After playing the demo, I was like, I don't know about this combat. I feel like it's on autopilot. And like you said, playing on hard mode made me realize how amazing the combat is. And like the kind of decision making and strategy you can pull into real-time combat that's, you know, half automated, half action-based. And I don't know. I started it up again on hard mode as like a, let's see what this is like. And I couldn't stop until I finished it. I put in so many hours into this game. It, like you said, looks absolutely amazing. The character models are ridiculous. The music is fantastic. And I just had so much fun playing this. I was not expecting to love this game as much as I did. And the story, like you said, it revolutionizes the idea of an HD remake or a concept. It's not doing it the way everyone wants them to be done. And it's making it way more interesting, in my opinion, as well as paying homage to the original and pulling in all the elements from the original. And I can't wait to play the follow-up versions. I hope they don't mess with... The good thing, like how I talked about Nioh 2 and Ori Will of the Wisps, I don't think they have to add anything. Like, they don't have to add new systems. You're going to have new characters to use as you expand the party going through the rest of the game. And I'm like, okay, that's where my variety and new experience and the locations I go to, that will be the new thing in the next games. I hope they don't add like a million new systems and stuff like that, because it's kind of perfect the way it is. Just give me new characters and finish the story in this fashion.
Well, I don't know how they're going to do the next ones because they basically gave you all the materia from the first game in this game. So it's not like they're going to create, you know, part 2, part 3 and add another full materia set to each of those. And it sure doesn't seem like they're going to, you know, do a Metroidvania where they steal everything from you and then make you start again. They had the level cap, which makes you think that that's going to be your starting point in the next game. And it's going to be really interesting to see where they go, how they take it. I agree with you. Like, you don't need to add anything. A RPG that is normally this long and spans more areas doesn't change their mechanics that much. And Final Fantasy VII, the original, has enough variety in its gameplay, not through the battles, but through all the little mini games you do. So I think if they maybe just flesh out the mini games, like the snowboarding game, what else did they have? You know, just like the fort battles and stuff like that. Just little things like that will carry the game quite a long distance without having to touch the battle system. And I think it's pretty well fleshed out. They're going to have a real hard time, I think, turning this game into like how they're going to handle the overworld map or whatever they're going to do for that, because that's more like an open world concept then if you're talking about a more polished 3D area, which is much larger than any of the Midgar areas that you saw before. And you'd probably have to...
I'm not sure they're going to make it open world.
You don't think so?
I'm not sure. I think they could go either direction. And I think actually your comment about Metroid likes might not be true. Like, they're doing such crazy stuff with the story. I think they might find a way to justify resetting the characters or doing something like that. Either way, I'm not really sure, but what a year for games. Now, I have to do this because everyone claims I'm a fanboy for PlayStation. But let's say top 10. How many of your games are PlayStation exclusives? Hawk doesn't have that many, I don't think.
3.
3?
My top 3 though.
Your top 3 games. The best 3 games of the year by far are PlayStation exclusives. Sean,
That's correct.
how about you?
Top 3 as well.
Top 3 as well. Okay.
Oh, well, Spider-Man. So I guess top 4.
Oh, top 4.
Yeah.
Someone that was telling me I was crazy to think PlayStation is going to dominate the next generation says Sony exclusive games are the best 4 games of the year, hands down. Anyway, just illustrating my point as to why it is over. And it's not about the consoles or features, it's about the games.
Best Xbox exclusive of the year was Call of the Wild. Or Call of the Sea.
Call the one.
Call of the Wild.
And
That says something.
on my list, excluding stuff that's on Steam as well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 PlayStation exclusives, including Bugsnax.
Yep. I mean, one thing I was thinking about that's kind of interesting too. Like, I feel like it was a really good year for games, and yet it was also a transition year, which usually the transition years are not good for games. Although I guess you always get those like the end of the generation games, which are really good. But I just feel like there was a lot of there was quality and quantity. So
Now, I don't like to do honorable mention. It's not my thing, but there were a couple games that I felt like I needed to mention.
I got a few.
Call of Duty Cold War. Not that I would put it on my list based on the single player campaign, and that's why it's not.
And what about Warzone?
That's included with that, I guess, in
Okay.
some ways. But the multiplayer in Cold War is the best Call of Duty multiplayer I've played since World War II. It's like the levels are very simple but interesting. Like there's not a lot of, I found in the last game there were so many lighting issues where people could hide in shadows and just kind of be cheap in the game. The maps are very simple and very fun, and Satellite is this map in the desert, which is by far my favorite Call of Duty multiplayer map that I've ever played. It's the most interesting. It's kind of asymmetrical. It is fantastic. So I wanted to mention that game. And also, I've been playing a crap ton this week of Murder by Numbers, which Huck talked about last week.
Yeah.
And I gave it some serious thought. The reason why I didn't put it on my list is because I don't care much about the story. I'll be honest.
You just skip it through it like I was?
Well, I'm going through it. I actually like the characters to some degree, but I find like there's too much dialogue.
Yeah.
I just want that Picross fix. I need it.
too, yeah.
I love those things. And I as soon as I unlock special ones where there's no story, I go and do all of those in there.
The main menu. Yeah.
There's only one way to Picross, and that's no hints. You cannot use hints.
Never.
Not allowed. But I love those puzzles. I'm so glad that they're back in some form. But Demon Souls as well is a game that is a PlayStation exclusive that I want to put on my list, of course, to juice that PlayStation percentage. But just as much as I was wowed by it, I have not returned to it.
Okay.
Although I must say, of my top 10, 5 are Game Pass games. So that's saying something.
That is saying something, Frank.
Which are those 5?
Oh wait, is it? Yeah, Ori, Ikenfell, Yes Your Grace, Streets of Rage 4, and Call of the Sea.
Okay. I think only one of those is available on PlayStation, just in terms of exclusivity.
Oh, okay.
But I also have a lot of Game Pass. Don't get me wrong. I was kind of focusing on our top games of the year.
I agree.
The best of the best are PlayStation exclusive.
Well, you can juice the PlayStation. I'll juice the Game Pass, and
don't get me
everyone will
wrong.
be happy.
I've been playing Game Pass a lot. Like I've been using it a lot lately. So I think it is great. I absolutely love it. But
also, I could share a story. I realized that I had an Xbox One X development kit. And so for Microsoft development kits, you can turn them into retail mode. And I am stupid and had never turned this one into a retail version during the times when I'm not using it to develop games. So I took it, I put it on my family room 4K TV, downloaded all my good looking games on there. And boy, it looks and runs every game so much better than my base Xbox One that I got I don't know how long ago. That's starting to die. I can't believe I didn't do this before. Like Madden looks really different up there on the TV. It looks so crisp. It runs at a silky 60. And I played, what else did I play? I played a little Red Dead, though that game is hard to get back into when you haven't played in so long. I played a little Metal Gear Solid 5, which also runs silky smooth and looks incredible. And I played some ScourgeBringer, which was really nice on a giant TV, I must say, even though it's obviously not like a graphical marvel. But I'm looking. I want to get a next gen system now.
That's too bad the PS5 does not go to retail mode.
Yeah, that's true. But
I haven't checked. Are consoles available yet? Like, have they even released any since the new year?
I don't think so. If they are, they've been really stingy.
Yeah, I'm sure they wanted to get every last one of them out before the holidays if they could.
You get to do some honorable mentions?
Yeah, I got a few honorable mentions. Yep. Super Meat Boy Forever. This was like on my list for a while, and I was loving this game. And I got to the 4th boss fight, and I just couldn't beat it. I guess what I thought was going to happen happened. And then I just, I guess a couple of things pushed it off the list. But I still really like it. I got to give it another shot. But, I just hit a roadblock. Ori, same thing, basically. Really liked it, but just kind of got knocked off. Paper Mario, the Origami King, put in a lot of time with this one, and I enjoyed it. I mean, yeah, there's definitely parts of it that are a bit of a grind, but it looks real nice, and the story's kind of fun. Would like to finish it at some point. Pistol Whip on PSVR. This one, I guess, technically is a 2019 game, but I was really enjoying this, and if I had played it a bit more, could have probably made the list. Got to mention Round Guard. Played a fair bit of this throughout the year. This is the Peggle roguelike, I guess. Mm-hmm. Moving Out, which is kind of the sort of Overcooked, but with moving furniture. Had some fun with that, particularly with the kids. And then Bugsnax as well, same reason essentially. And Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout. Didn't play it that much, but what I did play I thought was real creative and fun. So
Kieran is going to be pissed you did not put Bugsnax on your top 10. If he's,
I just said it.
On
my top 10. Yeah maybe.
That's bullshit.
He did say I think it's his favorite game of all time. I don't know if that's changed since, but
was it your friends that had a Bugsnax party or my other friend?
Yeah, Kieran had one. I mean, it wasn't. We tried to do some snacks that were actually shaped like Bugsnax. I don't know that they all turned out that well, but it was fun.
I had a couple that no one's mentioned yet. I tried out Doom Eternal to see if it was going to fly, and the game ran great. It felt really like Doom. Like more like the original Doom than I remember Doom 2016 feeling like. But I don't know, it just, the way they started you off didn't really grab me, and it didn't grab me at all like I was expecting it to. So maybe they even like threw you into the fire too quickly, which may be a detraction. I didn't even get to any of like the grappling stuff or anything like that. And they were just throwing like upgrades and all this stuff at me, and I was like, "Oh boy!" Like,
I tried a little bit of it as well, and I liked it. I don't totally understand. Like, I was surprised. There's like a 3D map, and they seem to be pointing out that there's exploration stuff in the game, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's sort of like hidden areas and hidden power-ups and stuff. So I don't know if they're kind of going for a bit of a Metroid vibe with this game as well. Mm-hmm. But
that was in the first Doom. It had a 3D map.
Yeah?
Yep.
Did it have
or Doom 2016, I should say.
Did it have like areas, reasons to explore and stuff though, or?
Oh yeah, there's tons of hidden stuff in that game.
Okay, well I'm going to have to give it another shot. I mean, I liked it. I just didn't play enough of it to really get a full sense of it, but
And then there's games I tried that, or I didn't get a chance to try, like Cyberpunk. This game called Monster Train, I wanted to try out. 13 Sentinels, which I believe we mentioned on previous shows. I really wanted to try to finish Kentucky Route Zero now that all 5 acts were out. And one game we talked about a little bit was Star Wars Squadrons, which I liked, but not enough to make this list.
Yeah, and actually I wanted to mention Genshin Impact.
Oh, and Genshin Impact, yeah.
Played a bit of it, and I really honestly feel like I could get into that game. Like there's a lot to take in, and there's all these kind of free to play mechanics because it's a free game. Not like mobile stuff, but they have like a gacha mechanic, and so there's a lot of different things, upgrade things, and it just took a lot to get your bearings, but I was definitely seeing potential in it, and I would like to put some time into it at some point.
Sean, where are the Apple Arcade games, bud?
Well, Round Guard was there.
I guess, okay. I did play game on PlayStation.
There's some that I liked. I don't know if I didn't put enough time into them or what, but probably my favorite ones actually came out last year. So, or in 2019, I mean.
Speaking of mobile games, I discovered that Sega put out like a whole bunch of their Sega Genesis games onto, I don't know if it's Apple and Android, but I saw it on Apple, and you can replay for free a lot of their Genesis library. So like we were talking about Beyond Oasis the other day, that's on there. They have like a Phantasy Star collection. What were some of the other ones? I think Gunstar Heroes was on there, Shining Force, Sonic the Hedgehog, like lots of games for free, and all you have to do is like watch the occasional ad when you save the game. So I don't know if anyone is interested in those, but something to check out if you're wanting a retro style game on your iPad on the go.
That's cool. I mean, in terms of was there any games you didn't play that you wanted to play, Frank? I mean, I guess I didn't play Final Fantasy. I tried the demo and I did like it, but just was kind of intimidated by the length of it, I think.
Immortals, I am kind of curious about. Fuser, I'm curious about. Crash Bandicoot, It's About Time, which I was going to buy some of those, and then the sale ended. I thought they were part of the holiday sale, but they weren't, and they were in my cart. And I feel like there was 2 other ones. Call of the
Valhalla?
Sea. I played Valhalla a bit. I was actually debating going back to it. Also, I wish I played more of Sackboy's Adventure, because I actually hear it does get more challenging as you get further in the game. And I think that's it off the top of my... Oh, even Godfall I'm kind of curious about, even though people didn't like it.
What about what's that other one where you kind of like the Pathless?
Yeah, I was just about to mention. I didn't play it much, but I don't think it would have made it.
Yeah, there are a lot, and to speak to the overall, like I'm just looking at some of the games that came out this year. There are some really high-profile games that are not hitting like any top 10s. So like Valhalla, basically not there. This has been on some, but that Fall Guys game, the Microsoft Flight Simulator.
That's been on a lot of lists I've seen.
Yeah, Yakuza Like a Dragon has been on a bunch. Now, I don't know if this is right. Resident Evil 3, that came out this year?
Yep.
Did it really?
I think so.
Oh, shit. I got to change my whole fucking list.
Watch Dogs Legion. We did mention Warzone a bit. Spelunky 2.
Yeah. Oh, that's one I meant to play. God damn it.
And that's one that, like, it's gotten good reviews, but I think particularly with, like, the lists, like the top 10 lists and stuff, it's just getting completely left out because everybody's talking about Hades.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, like, just there is 20, 25, 30 amazing games this year that came out. And really, like, it's crazy that, like, the top 4 or 5 games would probably be the top for a lot of years, like if they had come out. Like, they are incredible games, the top 5 of each of our lists, I would say.
there's only one thing that can happen. The trend that needs to happen is games need to be shorter so we can play all these games.
Yes.
They're too long.
I concur.
All right, I think we've covered it all.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's 2020.
2020 in review. Done. What a year. What a year for games. Anyway, check us out on youtube.com/gamejunk. My Angry Commute and Equilibrium Sys on Twitter. Film Junk on Twitter. Anything else I need to mention?
If you want to chat us up, you can join our Discord. I put the link in each YouTube video, and I think it's also on the Film Junk website. If you want to find it there. It's also on the Facebook page, I believe, still, somewhere. Yep.
All right, thanks for listening. Here's to another great year of gaming in 2021. See you next week. Bye-bye.